The Underdawg Podcast. It's your host T. Lee and my co-host Jack Cowden will be live today as usual.
Was pulling up, they acting like they couldn't see me. Now she wanna clean me up like a squeegee. I told her that's on me, baby, like yellow beezy. With the peanut butter tear like a Reese.
Keep on persevere through all the obstacles. Get it done. That's an underdog.
They don't forget the underdog when they see me. I hit them with the John Cena, they can't see me.
You may overlook this person, but the underdog is the one who's gonna put in the work.
It's over, you know? Because you have to lose to win. Whether you think losing is a big event.
Out of mind. All I'm saying, just be careful who you idolize. I'm kicking these scriptures just before the fame. Ain't no cap in my words, I go against the grain.
So I always believe that, like, I took so many risks to make this thing happen. You know what I mean?
I'm always working, bro. Like I said, I'm energy driven. Underdog can put you on your ass. The underdog can put you on game. The underdog can show you something that you didn't know.
You can't go down. All you can do is go up. So are you gonna stay where you at, or you gonna move up?
Feel the bangs. Feel the bangs.
He said he's nervous. This is his first time doing it.
Cut her ass off if she get that, I can reread.
Yo, what it do, good people? Welcome to the Underdawg Podcast. We back at it again. You feel me? The Underdawg Chronicles season 4 is shut down, man, but we keeping it pushing over here on the Underdawg's platform, how we always do, man. But we have a special guest today. This episode will be Relativity featuring Harlem, New York's own, by way of Atlanta, Michael Howell. He is a self-taught expressionist painter. Born and raised in Harlem, New York, use a wide range of mediums. He creates layers, pieces of work inspired by his own past and his seemingly paradoxical perception of the world around him, thus giving you the world through his unique point of view. Feel me? We got a real artist on today. We're going to go on and bring him in here, man. What's going on, brother?
What up?
You know what I mean? Got to bring you in the right way, man. You feel me?
I appreciate you, man.
Most definitely, man. But shoot, what's going today, man? How you feeling?
I'm all right, man. Took a weekend to kind of relax and just kind of bang some more pieces out. So I'm feeling good right now, man. What about you? You good?
Yo, man, you know, just trying to make things happen, keep motion. Feel like I'm juggling a lot of eggs in one basket, you feel me? Like, but I don't want to try to put my focus on everything, but sometimes it's like just that balance, man, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Most
I
definitely.
know exactly what you mean.
So, like I say, man, we appreciate you taking time out your schedule to kick it with the Underdogs. But first and foremost, as we push the importance of knowing ourselves, like, who is Michael Howell as a person outside his artistry?
It's always like hard to answer. I think as an artist, you're always kind of like self-evaluating, kind of checking in to see how you're doing and all that.
Right.
I mean, all in all, I mean, I'm a creative. You know, I'm an observer. I'm a black man, and I mean, shit, I'm an underdog. That's just why I'm here. You know.
Most definitely, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we all, you know, being creators or anybody that's kind of like when you're basically helping somebody or service to somebody, whether you know it or not, you know, with your art, you're healing people, you're inspiring people, you know, it's all type of different ways to put your hand in the pot, you know. But I feel like, you know, collectively, you know, that's what I think most people strive to do. Like, what ways can I help, you know, everything that's around me?
Mm-hmm.
You know, before we talk about the now, though, let's take it back to last year. Like, what are some things, you know, you learned last year that helped you prepare for 2023?
Probably the amount of work that I want to say I put in. You know, a lot of that, I think I spent a lot of time like at home and just kind of in my own feelings and kind of hiding, you know, my shit. I'm very protective of the work I make, you know, and, you know, I think last year, kind of gearing up to get going again and like doing events, art shows, exhibitions, stuff like that. You know, the feedback that I got was exactly what I wanted. You know what I mean? Like I think initially I was a little scared. I wasn't getting the feedback maybe I thought I wanted, and I wasn't maybe creating from like for myself necessarily. It was more so just for like people to tell me I was good. But I kind of feel like throughout pretty much the entirety of last year, and kind of pushing through a lot of those barriers, stuff like that, and figuring my shit out. You know, I realized it was okay to feel like I was okay, like I was good. I was like, I think I'm good at this. I think that, the people were buying stuff, and I was making money. And I was like, oh, people do like my shit. All right, maybe I should do this a little more.
Big facts, man. Big facts, man. It's the fact that you just did it. Just do it. Like Nike, just do it. Don't even get caught in your mind. Just already, if you already feel this major, and I got something to show and give to the people, like it's just like go for it.
Yeah.
And you definitely got some dope work, bro. Like it was an honor to like be in the atmosphere with a bunch of you artists at the Future Dad Artists, in Atlanta. So
appreciate
it. Yeah. Definitely a fan of your work. So since we're halfway through 2023, like how has this year been treating you thus far?
Oh, this year's been great. Between the Future Dead Artist exhibits and the events, the successful events, and like I said, the feedback. This year's been great, and I've been happy, and I'm somebody that isn't typically happy. It's a weird thing, but it's between the amount of effort, like when the outcome matches, like the amount of work that you've been kind of putting into it, that shit feels good, man.
Yeah, most definitely. It's almost like the investment. You know how they say like some things don't happen overnight. So it's like all the time, and the expectation you put on yourself to make sure I'm putting this out how I wanted to, put it out.
Absolutely, and I think I care. Like I think there's just like misconception of me that people think I just don't care about anything. But the reality is like I'm very specific about what I care about. I care about this.
Yeah.
It's cool to see it kind of just snowball effect, which is kind of cool.
Most definitely. So from Harlem, New York, what was it like? From your perspective, growing up there.
Harlem is a place. Harlem's amazing. I love Harlem, man. I think growing up there, I didn't realize. I don't think I realized the differences, or was able to kind of put into words my experiences growing up in Harlem until I left and came out here. Looking back on it, I think of how tight everything was, and the good people, the energy of Harlem. Like I miss that at times. I think Harlem is extremely energetic. It's a hustler's paradise. Everybody in Harlem gonna get it. That's just kind of the mentality you have when you're there.
Man, that's true.
Harlem taught me so much about how to deal with people, all different types of people. Coming out to Atlanta it seemed like, I remember it kind of felt like the level in the video game of life had gone down. Like it wasn't, people weren't as angry. Everybody was nice. I was like, all right, it's cool out here. Like people, all right, this is different. Harlem was great, man.
Nah, you definitely mentioned something when you say, Harlem or New York in general breed a lot of hustlers, It's just that type of environment. Like everybody that I know from New York, like got that mentality, like I gotta go get it,
Definitely.
Like most definitely. So what are some of your, memorable moments of Harlem that you cherish, from your hometown, like just growing up?
I miss the camaraderie, like the friend groups that I had. I was a hooper growing up. I thought I was gonna be one of them NBA niggas or something like that. That obviously wasn't gonna happen, right? Like, but the people that I met in those circles, the different types of people, basketball was extremely prevalent in New York, and so everybody played, right? And so you could be, there were people I was playing with, and they were like, I was good friends with them, and some of them killed people, some of them were accountants, right? Like some of them were like garbage men. Some there's this wide range of people, the spectrum of Black people, all just playing ball, just kind of kicking it and shit like that, and that taught me about like just judgment, like how to view people, like how to not judge people, like how to take people just at face value, like how to respect people. You know what I mean? Like I learned a lot, So if I say I miss anything or my most memorable things, it would definitely be like just hanging out with my friends, like in the environment of New York, hanging out on the street corners. You know what I mean? Like just kicking it, talking shit. And those are the things I think I miss the most personally.
Yeah, I feel that, man. I see you mentioned a lot of like just being able to observe and study the people that's around you, know how to like deal with people. That's big. Like because you got to come up in a certain type of bubble to really experience people. If you miss that aspect of life, like life is gonna be so difficult because they're not gonna know how to deal with certain people or try to be a people pleaser all the time and stuff like that. Like you got to know when it's right and when to cut it out with certain points, you know.
Yeah, Harlem is one of those places where you can walk. You could be in. You know, I was on 150th Team Broadway in Amsterdam. If you walk 2 blocks down towards like Convent, it's just like super peaceful. Like it was just this beautiful area, and then you walk another block over and you're on St. Nick, and he's like, oh shit, we back to, you know.
Yeah.
It just, you can walk anywhere and meet anybody. You know, culturally, it's just not, it's unmatched. It's nothing like New York.
No, I definitely I visited New York like maybe 2-3 years ago, man. It was like I was having the best time of just getting out and moving around. Like that's my thing. I like to be out and about, you know. So it was definitely my type of scene. Actually plan on going back like November to like I'm being like Brooklyn area, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah,
but times. I ain't going back
man.
Time, man. I ain't dealing with all that.
Man, I'm ready to suit up. Yeah, that definitely was the experience though too. Winter, man. It was crazy.
I don't miss that. I don't miss winter at all. I'll say that.
Yeah. So like, what are some of your go-to spots to either hang out or grab a bite to eat when you back home? Like for those who may have not visited the Big Apple yet.
Man, deli spots, like just corner deli spots, man. Like,
yeah.
I miss getting sandwiches from the deli spot. There's no like, you know, I could give you like the Cat's Delis and all, you know, the famous spots and stuff like that. But ultimately, like, I miss going to the deli spot and getting a bacon, egg, and cheese. Like, anywhere you go to get like any kind of deli spot where you get sandwiches, that's gonna be fire.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about it. And you could, someone could drop you off like in the middle of New York City, and you can stop at any random corner store and you can ask for a bacon, egg, and cheese or a sandwich, whatever it is, and it's gonna be amazing. It's just kind of how it works. I don't know what it is. Might be the bread. I don't know. It's probably I would say that's top tier. Chopped cheese sandwich and stuff like that. Spots. Yeah, it's probably. I mean. And I think that's also it too, right? Like with New York, a lot of that stuff's been so gentrified now, man. The spots I grew up going to, or half of them ain't even there no more, man. Like,
I feel that, man. That'd be like, I don't know. It's kind of like when you come up in the era where like say 80s or 90s or so, and like to the era coming up now, it's like it's kind of hard like to tell them like this is how it used to be. Because their new normal is what they see right in front of them. But it's like, man, they used to be so much greater, like going on in the city before this happened. Like it's almost like how I look at it. My shit, like Orlando, kind of the same. Like it's just watered down. Like it just, you know, like it was way more lit, like in the early 2000s, or you know, stuff like that.
Same. When I go back to visit, I hit people. Hey, what y'all eat now? I just roll with y'all, like.
Yeah.
But like I come back probably 5-6 pounds heavier just eating deli sandwiches at 3 a.m, like, because I can do it.
Oh yeah,
I can't do that here.
Nightlife don't sleep there either. I experienced that too. So as you now reside in Atlanta, Georgia, like what was the transition like for you to move down south, and why Atlanta out of all places?
So I used to my dad always lived in Atlanta. So I used to come out here in the summertime, like when I was a kid. Like my mom would kind of just send us away. You know? I think I always felt like that was pretty common in New York. Like everybody had like a auntie, a cousin, or something down south, and their parents would send them out there, whatever it was. So you know, I wasn't foreign to Atlanta. I had always kind of been. I used to hate it as a kid actually because there wasn't a subway. Like I couldn't drive, so there was no point. I was like, "Why?" I was like, "What are we doing here?" You know, my dad lived in like Stone Mountain, so I couldn't walk anywhere. And so I think I came down as like an adult. You know, I think I was like 25 or 6 or something like that, and I had a car and I was driving. I remember being able to kind of see the city, and my dad showed me around, showed me some places to eat. You know, saw the women. I was like, you know what? Kick here for a little bit and see what it's like. But you know, and at that time, I had no inclination to like the art. Like I didn't think I was going to be painting or anything like that. I just remember thinking it was just the best move because it made sense. You know, it's cheaper living at that time. It was a lot cheaper to live here. You know, and compared to the price I was paying in New York, it was a no brainer. I was like, I'll give it a shot. We'll see what happens, and then you know, it just kind of worked out.
No, that's real, man.
You
Because for some people, you know, it'd be kind of hard for them to just leave their hometown or what they knew all their life. You know, it takes a
Nah,
different individual to be like, all right, I'm just finna get up and just go over here. You know,
I guess in my defense, I was always a little bit of a hermit though. Like even still, I don't go outside like that or anything like that. Like all the people that I knew from like just hooping or school or whatever it was, and we didn't hang out
yeah.
every day. Or if we did, it was like it was more casual. But like I never felt like tethered to New York. Like I love New York to death, but I never felt like I had to be here. Every time I would come to Atlanta, I would think to myself, "Oh, the world's bigger than New York. All right, cool. Let's see what they got out here." So.
Yeah, that's why you felt like you had a bigger purpose to be thinking like that already.
Maybe.
So, who would you say molded you into the man you are today?
My mom definitely. My mother definitely helped mold me. She was the one that held me accountable. I think when I think about myself and why I am who I am and how I came to be, it's definitely my mother. Like she never held punches. She was always a truth teller. She would hold the mirror up to you in a heartbeat. My mom is the reason I am who I am, and probably the reason I'm so like self-reflective, and that bleeds into art a lot actually. So definitely my mom.
That's real, man. So, what age did you realize that you were just creative in general, like before the arts, where you felt like you was making your way to it, but you didn't know it was art at the time?
I could always draw. Like I love cartoons.
Yeah.
And I think I was in like second grade or something like that, where I remember I was always competitive too, and so I remember there would be a group of like girls over at like these two dudes' tables because they could draw in second grade, right? Like they were, everybody like, oh my god, look what they did, blah blah blah, whatever. And I would think, well, I'm gonna do it, well, he did it, I'm gonna do it, so I'm gonna start drawing over here, and sooner, it just kind of turned into this whole thing where. I enjoyed cartoons. I would always draw cartoons. Started with like Super Mario Brothers, Dragon Ball Z, stuff
Big
like that. Just small things,
Yeah.
And I remember like stuff like that would kind of happen. I'd be walking home from school and I would see something. I think when I get home, I'm gonna draw that, and I would do it. I could always draw. I could never paint. My art teachers in like middle school and elementary school, they would always say, "You're going to be an amazing artist. You're going to paint. You're going to be great." And I would say, "What are you talking about?
Yeah, they seen it already.
What are you talking? I can't paint." And they would roll out acrylic paints, and I would just doodle, and it would look awful. I just didn't know what I was doing. I remember that. And it was Mr. Markman. Shout out to Mr. Markman, man. He was the first. He was like, "You're going to be amazing." I was like, "Whatever."
Yeah.
He called it. I got to give it to him.
That's dope, man. So, in your words, how would you define art, and like how you go about deciding that something is artistic?
I mean, art is something that's incredibly subjective. So something that I might consider art might be something you see, you would think is trash or whatever. Right? Like, I think anything that took energy to create in any form is effectively going to be art. Anything. I mean, I've been to exhibits and just seen people looking at space, right? Like, it is what it is. For me personally, right, I'm a big music guy, right? Big, New York hip hop, 90s, all that shit.
Yeah.
So that's in me. And so I look at, for me, I like projects. Like, I've never been a fan of albums that are just like kind of playlists, right? Like, tell me a story, right? So like a Kendrick album makes more sense to me than I can't give you another one. I can't think of one right now, but maybe like a Chris Brown album or something, right? Where it's like 7,000 songs. I'm like, well, this doesn't even make sense,
Right.
So for me, like if you had to dig deep to create it, right? If there's a part of you in the piece, right? If I'm effectively looking at a visual representation of like a page of your diary, then it's art to me, right? Because you had to dig to get that. You gave me a piece of you. That's fire, right? Like, even if it might not look aesthetically pleasing, if you explain it in a way that makes sense to me, and I can see that, and you make me feel however you felt, right? Anything that makes me feel attached to in any way, shape, or form, I deem art. That shit matters.
Nah, big facts, man. That's why I kind of say like to any creators, like it's really no boundaries to a creation because everybody gonna see it how they see it. So it's really like really no room to really make too many judgments like that.
Mhm.
So how did you even get into what you do creatively, and like what inspired you to have a passion for art?
I went through a really bad breakup, and I think that's where it kind of started. I think, like, up until that point, I remember thinking, "Oh, I'll be an animator, I'll draw, and I'll do
Mm-hmm.
whatever." But I definitely wasn't taking it serious. I was just kind of dicking around. And I went through a bad breakup where, like, I cheated on the woman I was with, and it was like a whole thing. And I kind of like, I internalized everything. I remember. And while I was going through that like phase, like post breakup, I remember going on a date to like one of the sip and paint
Mm-hmm.
classes, and the girl I went with was like super excited and happy, and she had her own liquor, and everybody's drinking and having fun and all this shit.
Yeah.
Internally, I'm still like miserable, but I'm there. I'm trying to like liven up.
Yeah.
And I was watching the guy paint what he was painting. And I was like, I can fucking do that. And like I'm looking over at her, and she's just like she doesn't care what she's doing. She's
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, in the moment,
And
yeah.
I'm sitting there, I'm like, I'm about to just do it. So I did it. And I remember like
Mm-hmm.
following his instructions and knocking down, I don't remember, it was like a Hennessy bottle or something stupid like that. I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
I painted it and it came out great. And I was like, I can paint. And like I could hear my art teacher's words in my head from back in the day. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, nah. So the date was over, and I remember like just being kind of fixated on that. And the next day, I got up and went to like Michael's and spent like $300 or $400 on supplies. Like, and I didn't have any money, so that hurt. But I didn't
Yeah.
care because I was going through some shit. I needed to get it out, you know.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I did that day. I painted something. It was like a horizon, some kind of something weak, I don't know, comparatively speaking. But yeah, I remember like painting it and getting home. I mean, I remember painting it at home or whatever and taking the picture and putting it online. I think it was Facebook back then. And someone was like, "How much for it?" I was like, "What?"
For
And I sold it for
real.
like $150 or something. I was like, "Oh shit, I can do this. Like this isn't that hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's much harder than that, but still, like that was cool. That's probably like an origin story for me personally."
Nah, that's real. Like that's like one of the moments where it lets you know, like, man, I could really do this. Somebody just asked about this, like,
Mm-hmm.
and like you say, your intention was like, whatever. But it
Yeah,
say like
definitely.
for that to come back, yeah, that's like a calling, man. Some type of sign.
Mm-hmm.
So like in your art, like has any personal experiences influenced your work that you've created?
100%. Pretty much all of it.
Yeah.
I'm not somebody that like I think I remember saying this at the Future Gallery exhibition. I'm not somebody who can just paint stuff just because it's cool,
Right.
Or I have to. My process is a little different. I have to like write about stuff and then kind of pick apart the writing to work backwards to get to paint something. So no, every piece of mine is extremely personal. Um, every single one of them. Everything is from like an experience that I've had or something that's happened or someone that I've talked to, or a family member, right? And it just kind of it comes out the way that it comes out because of that. But yeah, every single one, every single piece I have means something. To the point where when I sell it, I'm sad. I'm sad to see it go.
Big fact.
Every single piece I've sold, I'm legitimately sad. Like my baby's gone. Like, that shit is crazy.
Then it's like on the flip side though, the person that bought it, it's like it's almost like uh it's one of them situations where it's like somebody is holding this artwork that's yours, it's like something that's gonna live on in a
For
sense.
sure, for sure. I had to have like coaching on that. Like my man, he kind of like my PR dude. He was one of the first people to buy like to spend money on my pieces.
Yeah.
And he was like, I remember telling him I was like, I'm sad. I can't believe I'm sad. And he was like, you make these pieces for that reason, for them to go out and be in the world. It was like, that's how mother feels about his kids. You gotta embrace it. I'm like, I hear you. Damn, that shit is sad.
Right. Yeah, man. Speaking of artwork too, man, I got your pieces pulled up right here. We got this one is the stash that you presented. That one hard, bro. I definitely got to get a print of that, man.
I appreciate you. I got you, man.
Yeah, that's dope, man.
Yeah, she reached out about that piece, and I was like, I can write about this. It just kind of came out. It's cool.
like even the story behind it too, like you said, something personal. You know, when you shared it in the gallery, you know,
Yeah.
and it's just relate. It's relatable, you know,
Mhm.
like in a sense, you know, for a lot of people. So yeah, that relativity, man, like stuff they can relate and pull people in.
Mm-hmm. So I try. I didn't. I think I made the mistake of thinking that everything was only happening to me, you know.
Right.
And then once you don't realize, I didn't realize, and I started making pieces and showing them to people. You know, people have had similar experiences. It's not just me, and that's probably the coolest part about it is when people are able to relate to it, whatever it is that I paint. You
Yeah, I feel like you're like the Robert Greene in the art world, man. It's like Robert Greene, man, bro. His books, like that's the type of books I'm into because a lot of experiences and stuff he gives is like I put my own situations into it, and like as he's explaining this scenario, it's like okay, that's why I was feeling like that then, or that's when I was
know?
going through this, then it makes you kind of break down and kind of
Yeah,
like
I think
solve certain things that's not solved.
I think it's especially I think as black men, I don't think we really get to. We're not really afforded the luxury to like have a therapist. Not early on, anyway.
Nah,
I wasn't. I didn't know
yeah,
anybody that was in therapy when I was a kid. You know,
I
that
never
kind of shit.
heard of it.
Like no one teaches you how to like unpack your shit in like in a healthy way, right? Niggas just kind of
Right.
run off and go do some shit, or we just
Right.
and we tuck it, right? Like if something goes wrong, I tuck it. I deal with it later. I
Yeah,
gotta
it
go get some
really,
shit. I ain't got
bro.
time for this, right?
I put it in the back of my hard drive and keep it
Hmm.
going, bro.
And then there's always that day where you shit is a little too heavy. You don't understand why. It's because you've been tucking shit for
Yeah,
15 years, right? Like,
yeah,
and
yeah,
so this works as like a healthy kind of avenue for that. But it's always interesting when someone's able to relate to any piece. I'm like, also you
right.
too. Okay, so all right, it's not just me.
Nah, that's definitely the truth, bro. That's like I feel like that's one of those things where like it relates to a lot of us as being a black man. Like
Hmm.
I literally was just like, man, like 2 weeks ago, I said, man, I need to talk to like a psych. You feel me? Like I need to
Yes.
actually sit down and do
Listen,
this because
and listen, they're hard to find, man. A good one is hard to find. Like
yeah,
it's hard, but like it's worth it when you can start getting that shit out a little bit. And like
yeah,
I've cycled through a few. I'm still trying to find like my fucking therapist. It's hard,
yeah,
But in the meantime, I can write and paint. At least I have a healthy outlet. There are a lot of black men, black boys that don't have an outlet. I think for me growing up, it was like basketball up until this point. Like, what you gonna do when you can't do that?
right. Yeah, man. Like you say, it's definitely I don't look at them to be like they're gonna solve my issues, but more like hearing myself talk out loud and actually have a discussion, I might be able to solve it myself some type of way. It's
Yeah.
like they can't do it for me. I gotta do it for myself at the end of the day.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, we're just cycling through the art, man.
Shit. Each one that pulls, I'm like, damn, I remember what I was going through. I wrote that shit. That's crazy.
That's dope.
Appreciate you.
Man, this from 2022.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, yeah. It's already sold, guys. Might have to inquire about the prints. Yeah, that's hard. And then there's so much realism in the art as well, detail.
Yeah, I think I had that first show in 2018, and I didn't really know how to paint yet. I was just kind of getting everything out.
Wait, you mean when you did this, you didn't know how to paint?
Well, nah, this was like last year, so I knew how to paint then.
Man,
But
I was about to say, man,
no,
like,
I started painting it. I think it was 2018. 2018, I
yeah,
started painting. So I'm still relatively new at it, but I was just trying to
yeah,
put shit together. And so I was pretty limited in what I could do. And like I said, I don't think I like the feedback that I got from some of the stuff. Like stuff sold, and I was glad about that. But people made it seem like I was crazy for asking for money for certain things. And so like that response made me go home and like lock in. I was like, nah, nobody's gonna. I don't want nobody talking to me crazy like that ever again. When
yeah,
I go home, it's a wrap. I locked myself in the crib for like 2 years. I was like, nah, like I'm gonna get this to the point where I got it down to a science. And then, once I came back out, started doing shows and events. there were certain people that wouldn't even ask prices. Like they would see shit like, I don't even want to know how much that is, big dog. Like you good? Like,
Yeah,
I did
definitely.
it.
They like, man, that's too much. Like they already got the expectation. Like, yeah, this worth definitely a lot.
Yeah.
That's low key. That's definitely a compliment right there. Like, man, you feel like it's really worth. Yeah, like you're
in my
not
mind,
lowballing.
I did it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I did it.
Man, it's just the process, man. Hearing the process, man, is definitely dope. So, what was your first creation though? And elaborate like on how that piece came about at the time.
That first piece I made was that day I got home from that like date thing, whatever, the next day. And so it was, if I'm not mistaken, I think I went on YouTube and looked up a bunch of like just different methods to do certain things. And so it was like a horizon, like it was like the water. It was kind of like a beachfront and then horizon, and then it was like showing the stars in a galaxy or something like that. And so that process, like mimicking what I saw on YouTube and kind of just putting things together, I was able to kind of create that. My first real piece, I think that I liked. It was an album cover. I want to say I painted India Shawn's album cover. I can't remember the name of the album exactly. It's the one she had with I can't remember the dude's name, but she was like a mermaid or something like that. And painting, like early on, I think painting women was like cool to practice because I just like aesthetically, I just find women extremely like incredibly pleasing to look at. And so I know I can paint a woman and think to myself, all right, this looks like that, right? Like it just, you paint the things you like to paint effectively to get better. So I think the first thing I painted was like an album cover, and just kind of rolled out from there to other things. That process, it might have taken me 2 hours, 3 hours. It didn't come out very well, but it came out. I was glad to finish something because that was hard to do at the time.
Most dope, man. So, like in your art, how do you manage to stay both personal and original in your creative space?
That's the hard part. Like the personal part is easy.
Yeah.
Staying original is hard, right? Like, and I guess I say that because the getting to a point where I realize I can paint anything makes it a bit difficult to not paint everything, right? Like it's a good problem to have, I guess, right? Like it's better to be a Swiss Army knife than me being able to just paint one specific thing. So everything is personal. Like I'm able to pull everything, right? And then, I think for me, the process of writing is what keeps it as original as possible. I think for me, that keeps me grounded. I'm able to kind of steer. Because through the writing, I can put the picture in my brain when I'm reading it to myself. Okay, cool. That sounds like this to me. Okay. Let me look up images of this. All right, cool. And I just pick different pieces from my own brain because I wrote it down. I think that's what keeps me centered, in my process. I think that's what makes it a little easier for me to not go look at something and like, oh, I can do that. Let me do what he did plus this. Plus I think that's like completely unoriginal. I think that's like a slippery slope. I think a lot of people actually do that. That's not something I like pride myself on. And I also get the pressure that comes with wanting to be like liked and received. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I think some people go that route because it is easier. Like, there's a lot of you can probably throw a rock and see some kind of like Basquiat style type thing. Everybody wants to paint like him, and it's a testament to how great he was. It really is, but there's nothing original about it. Like how far can you make it trying to be like someone who's a legend? You know what I mean? Like making your own style, making your own lane. That's more fun for me personally. But yeah, to answer the question, I think the writing keeps me centered, and it definitely keeps me personable with what I make.
Yeah, man. Nah, I feel that because like even as an artist, like doing music and stuff like that, like it's easy for a person to imitate, which a lot of artists I see, kind of nowadays. Like when Future came out, you had a bunch of people sound like Future. When Migos came out, it was nothing original. You had a lot of people rapping like Migos. Like the originality come from that time, the practice, but for me, when I first started doing it, like you didn't have tight beats back then. Like SoundClick used to be like, there's a platform called SoundClick, which I think is still up today. But they used to have like a broad range. Like nobody was making beats that sounded like this artist or that artist. It was just originality and everything. So I feel like most artists that came up in that era, like they really got more in tune with themselves to find their artistry, because you picking different type of beats, you finding your sound, your signature sound, like, you know, all that's important, you know.
And that's hard to do. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. Like that comes through like just kind of digging and grinding.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. It doesn't. Very rarely is it something that just kind of is on the surface, right? Like it takes time. Like,
yeah.
You think about like I kind of like everything is like relative, right? Like I think about like basketball, right? Like when Steph and them start making threes, now everybody wants to shoot threes.
Yeah,
right?
man,
Like,
the big man shooting from the 3-pointer. Like this man ain't like I that's so true, bro. I played pickup ball at the park a couple times recently. I'm talking about younger than me, like they probably early 20 and whatever. Everybody shooting, nobody. So I'm like, okay, I'm taking it right to nobody want to guard.
I seen little kids in transition stop and pull up from there. Like, what are you doing? There's nobody at the rim. Like, nah,
they just be scared. Like, is it scared of the contact or something?
But it's what happens, right? You emulate the process that you see work. Right? You see it work in front of you. Like, and up until that point, think about it. Wasn't nobody doing that shit. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I remember when you had to have 2 7-footers or you wasn't gonna win a ring. Like,
yeah.
I remember those days, early 2000s, right?
Yeah.
And so everyone was home. Everybody was looking around the league for a big dude that with some post moves on. Then Dwight Howard came. It was nuts. All these things, and then one thing happens and it changes the trajectory, right? Like that. That's just what happens. And it's a testament to how good these people are when they do something.
Yeah.
But no one is ever going to shoot threes at a clip like Steph Curry and I'm Golden State. Like, it's not going to happen.
Steph Curry just pop and pull it from anywhere. That just had everybody like trying to perfect it, bro.
Yeah, and it's never going to happen. Like you might need. So it's changed in a way where you might need shooters now. But ultimately, you still got to do your own thing. So Jokic gets a ring this year. Emulate that, right? Right. Like, but that's not him shooting a bunch of threes. That's somebody who perfected his own shit, right? So to bring it back home, when you perfect your own thing and you make it work for you in the best way possible, you create your own lane. You know what I mean? Like that's just how it works. That's the way I see it anyway. I've been alive long enough to see how the world operates. So.
Yeah, I'm like, man, I feel like, you know, what it makes somebody dangerous is if like that person that can play center, if you can overall like do everything, not just perfect, just shooting, like getting a post and all that. Like,
it takes a lot of moving pieces. It takes a coach to run a system through him. That's crazy, right? But it works. So yeah, I didn't want to make it about basketball, I guess.
Nah, but that was a good comparison though. Like, definitely, like that had to be said. So, like, what is your ultimate message in your work you would like to share with the audiences?
I think relativity is probably the best thing that I can think of. I think I struggled for a while because I was so like, I think it's no secret that like, you know, African Americans and Black people aren't really we're not in art like history really. We're not really existing over there, and I know that, and everyone knows that, and everyone wants to make artwork because they want to, you know, display the Black experience, and that's a desire that should exist. That makes sense to me. But I find that there's too much pressure in me trying to like do that. I think for me, I was really gung ho on like, yo, Black art, Black, blah, 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 blah. And it's not that isn't important to me. I think it's also that like, if I share my personal experiences, it almost doesn't matter what color you are. Like, right? It's relative. Like, it's relative for sure. Like, specifically because I'm Black, right? Like if you Black, you saw the Nike shoebox, right? You knew what time it was.
Yeah.
And if you didn't, then it's not for you. It's fine. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's about talking to whoever you want to talk to. Ultimately, like if you can relate to this, you can. If you can't, it is what it is. So you know, and I find that the commonalities they reach beyond my complexion. You know what I'm saying? Like the people that saw a lot of my older pieces were like, oh shit, like. I was surprised when white people walked in my joint and said, "That's Erykah Badu." I said, "Oh shit, you know who she is," right? Like, but ultimately, like the story that leads up to that, right, is my sister and her inability to kind of hear herself on TV until she sees Erykah Badu, right? Like, oh, it's a Black chick. She's gorgeous. She's on TV. She looks like me, right? And so that's what ties that image, right? But ultimately, everyone else sees it, and I just thought it's a nice picture. One way or another, because you recognized it, or you relate to the story, it touched you in some way. Even if it's just aesthetically pleasing, you like it, and that's all I really need. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's always just been about just staying grounded, but also being relevant. Like just expressing myself and my experiences, like to the T. Like, and if you fuck with it, you fuck with it. Like,
Yeah.
if you don't, that's cool. It don't bother me. Like, you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? I ain't one of them
Nah, for
dudes that
real.
need everybody to love me. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't need no validation for everything I do. It's like I know how dope I am is at what I do. And I know it's
Absolutely.
people that's gonna like it, but then I also know everybody's not gonna like everything.
Yeah,
But just
yeah.
take the artistry away, everybody not gonna like you as a person.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
This is what it is. Like,
I'm
you
over
know.
that, man. I
Yeah.
ain't here to kiss asses and please nobody, man.
Yeah.
I just want to make what I want to make. I make it like the process that I go through to make the pieces is so like personal to me that it doesn't matter. Like once I get to the other side and I'm like, oh, do you want it or not? I'm not begging you to buy it. Do you want this piece or not? Like, what's up? Like,
Yeah. And that also differentiates like what you really loving what you do versus doing it for the money. People that do it for the money, they gonna chase everything that the people they'll drive themselves crazy trying to please everybody.
Yep.
Like,
Yep. I don't. Maybe and listen. Maybe I'm just too old. But I ain't got time for all that, man. Like, you know, I can't do the gimmicky thing like that. I would love to be better on social media and all that. But I'm living a life. That's all I have time. You know?
Most definitely, man. So, who are some of your all-time favorite artists' work that you admire or has had a huge impact on what you do?
James Carey Marshall's a big one. His pieces, I find them to be like perfect. Kennedy Wiley's another one is really good. He's the one that did like the Obama portrait. It was just the detail in his work like that. That's unmatched. Like as a portraiture, like if you look at like portrait art, right, you kind of see a Kobe portrait or something. You can, like as an artist, you can find the spots like I could have did this a little better, or whatever it is. You might look at it comparatively or something like that. And I look at Kehindi's pieces, like I don't even look for blemishes anymore. Just like there goes the perfect work. Who is it? What's his name? Some Hendrix, Barkley Hendrix. He's like one of my favorites also. He did portrait work also, but he had a different approach. Like if you ever see like Barkley Hendrix work, right? Like it's portrait work, it's full body, but it's like 70s, 80s, dude. These dudes, there's some bad motherfuckers in these photos, man. They fire. Like when you talk about someone who captured like a time frame and a time zone, kind of like he did that perfectly for me.
Nah, that's dope right there. Like to visit to like even if somebody wasn't around that time period, like he's giving
a picture could do a little something to like an actual painting, vibrant colors. You feel like you stand on 125th Street looking at a paint, talk to it like you're like, oh shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, his work did that for me personally.
Because I look at art like I'm trying to decode what is it telling me, like what's going on. I'm trying to get that's my thinking process, Boy, it's just like okay, like that's the part where I enjoy about the art. Like man, why did he do it this way? Why this probably faded over here? When in my mind it's like that should have been clear. Like I'm looking for clues and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, that's probably one of my favorites. I mean, there's so many artists. I don't know, man. It's kind of hard to pick a few, I guess. Kara Walker's another one. Kara Walker just does like just cool shit. If you see her stuff, it's like this jarring. She's ahead of her time. She had success very young. I think her story is kind of cool also. But yeah, I mean, those are just a handful of people.
Yeah, that's what's up. So, what do you do to get in your creative zone? Like, what's your ritual when you sit there and the canvas blank? Like, is there something you do like each time or every time different?
I'm just a little different. It normally starts with music though. I put on an instrumental, normally jazz. I can't have words because words like will kind of guide my thoughts. So normally like jazz. I have like a long like jazz playlist I put on, and I'll kind of kick it. I'll start writing some stuff. And then once I kind of feel the direction I'm going into, I'll start a little sketch, and it just works its way gradually to the canvas. It takes a little bit of time, but it takes a long time actually, but I get there.
Yeah. So, like, what is your favorite accomplishment thus far with your work?
Just getting my stuff in museums. Like Trent Museum ended up picking up that Nike piece. The recognition, I think, but I think more than anything, it's still the relativity. Like it's still being able to talk to people about stuff like that. That probably means the most to me personally. Because like I said, I'm somebody who like I'm at home miserable. I assume it's literally only me. It's nobody else. You know what I'm saying? So the time I spend in those spaces and maybe not being too happy about things, it feels good to kind of share an experience through art, and then people just be like, "Oh my god!" Like when people are blown away, I'm confused, but I'm like super appreciative. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like when someone's like, "Oh my god, I need this!" Like that is perfect. All these things. Those mean probably more to me than anything, to be honest.
Most definitely. So, if you could change one aspect of our society through your work, what would it be?
It's tough. If I could change one, I mean, I think that. I think, like for me personally, I'm not like a. There are different types of learners, right? Like there's, you could be a visual learner, you could be audio, you could be kinesthetic. That's both, right? Like it's different ways to kind of go about things.
Right.
But artwork is another like conduit for that, for learning, just in general, right? So like if I can teach someone that or if I can relate to someone that they're not alone, that helps change things. Like I've never been a fan of like the Messiah aspect, so to speak, right? Like there's got to be this one dude that we galvanize, like the MLKs and you know what I'm saying, the Malcolms, of course. Like I've never really been a fan of that because all you do is give them a target to take down, right? For me, it starts at home. It starts with you and your bubble and your circle, right? If you're doing what you're supposed to do, you making sure your girl doing what she's supposed to do, your wife or whatever, and your family's doing. You keep the direction, and you keep the family going in the right direction.
Yeah.
If everyone controls their right circle the right way, then we all collectively move forward much faster. Also, right? So for me, it's about that, right? The art thing matters to me because if someone would have told me I could have been an artist back when I was trying to hoop, I probably would have dropped the ball and wanted to pick this up a long time ago, right? If someone would have like believed in me and really pushed me, I would have went in that direction. And so, I think more so than anything, if I could, if my thing would help, if my art helps with anything, I would hope more so that like the learning experience in any way. Like if it teaches a white person to be less racist, if it teaches a child that he doesn't have to rap or play ball or something like that, something on the entertainment aspect, right? Like if it just opens up one more door for somebody, if you're just able to see my piece and you feel it completely, like that's all I want, man. Like I think that would change. I think those small changes, those are butterfly effects, big changes.
That's huge impact. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm sure.
Nah, that's real. So overall, like, what do you wish to accomplish though with your paintings and your art?
I just want my shit in museums. like I want my shit in the MoMA. Like I want to be recognized, I guess, which is it feels odd to say out loud, I guess, but I think I've seen so much art to me that maybe people didn't care about. They just kind of made, and maybe it had success or whatever. I think I just want to be able to create stuff and people love it and buy it, and it's in museums, and I get my little bit of recognition in my little corner of the world, and that's it, man. Like artists who subjected to want to be the greatest of all time or some corny shit like that, right? It doesn't work that way, right? But like if I could just kind of just make my own lane and establish myself and be recognized at all, it's really all I want, man.
Man, I feel like the relativity though is definitely gonna take you there, bro. Like, cause you've been able to relate to people. Like, even when it comes to like other ethnicities looking at your art, they won't know your ethnicity by looking at your art piece. Some might be able, but they might not be able. You can't really just look at it like that, you know?
Yeah.
You say it's really just, all them I think people flock, even strangers, they flock to something that if y'all got in common, something mutual in common, that might start a whole relationship right there. Like, our conversation.
Who was the artist? That's probably who I should have mentioned before. LaShawn Thomas. He's from the Bronx. He's an animator.
Yeah.
He worked on like the Boondocks and shit like that.
Oh yeah.
And I remember watching one of his interviews because he, the animation studios are in China. They're in Asia. Like he had to dip out. Like he left the Bronx to go out there to get a job and work. You know what I'm saying? Like, his stories really fly. But he talked about that. I remember in one of his interviews, he was like, art is one of the few realms that racism doesn't really exist like that. Like,
Right.
Like if someone sees art, if it's fire, it's fire. That's it. Like if your shit is whack, it's whack. Like it ain't got nothing to do about your ethnicity. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
We know about racism like once it gets to a certain point, obviously. But I think me receiving that at a young age, that motivated me for sure. I was like, all right, I'm just gonna get my shit rocking and see what happens.
Yeah. So being that you're self-taught, how often would you work on art and how much time did you invest? Like what resources would you use to get familiar with painting?
I mean, so the amount of time I put into it is one thing. I try to paint every day, every other day. Try to. And I don't want that to be misconstrued. Where I a lot of y'all and say I paint every single night because sometimes I finish a piece and it feels so good to have that shit accomplished. I sit down for a week. Like I'm gonna just chill out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it takes a little bit of time. In terms of how the pieces that I use or the things that I use to kind of create the work and what that process looks like. I mean, I just kind of delve into it. Like I didn't really have, a lot of that was trial and error. So, I would start with the really cheap paints and work my way up and I would realize the differences in them. Right. Like I think I started with basic paints and worked my way up to the gold paint and realizing the differences. Like, oh, this stays stronger longer. I don't have to go over it 7 times.
Right.
This process is going to be shrunk down. I'm going to keep it moving now. I used to buy the cheap paint only. I'd be sitting there all night going over one thing. Why is this shit take so long?
Man.
A lot of it was just my own research. I think at the core of it was really just curiosity. Like I wanted to know what other people were using. I wanted to, I remember finding the Learn to Paint podcast. I remember finding that shit early. I was like, they feature other artists and other artists tell you their process and all that other stuff. And I learned about paints through them. I was like, okay, the quality of paint matters for this reason. Let me see what they're talking about. I took it home and worked with it. I think curiosity was at the root of everything, personally. I just had a hunger to want to learn some shit. Like it felt like I was a kid learning to play ball again. I'm like, damn, I'll watch a fucking a Mike Jordan highlight and be like, how the fuck did he do that reverse? That shit was crazy. And then taking it to the park. It's the same concept. So, I mean, learning how to paint was really just through repetition and just kind of asking questions and just kind of digging. Luckily, the internet was there and prevalent as I was kind of doing that.
Right.
I think if I grew up wanting to paint and from the start, I might have been asked out. I don't know, man, because I didn't know any artists in my neighborhood. I would have just been out there doodling. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't have known nothing. So the kids today got the benefit of the internet, so that kind of worked in my favor.
I say that all the time. Like, man, we grew up in a time before YouTube even popped. So when YouTube did pop, it's like AN1 was going on then and stuff. So, bro, we used to sit there and watch AN1 so much and then take it outside and use it. That's why I'm like, I be pushing that so much on even my nephew, kid, all that. Like, man, y'all, if you want to learn something, it's there. Like,
it's definitely
just
there.
Practice it.
I remember thinking to myself, let me just go down this rabbit hole. And I mean, I use that comparatively still to this day, right? Like the amount of time and effort that I put into painting doesn't even match the amount of time and effort I put into playing basketball. Like the amount of years, I got bum knees, I'm done, right? I can't do nothing over it. I played basketball every day forever. And so when I think about painting, I'm like, I haven't done enough yet, right? Because the timing, I can vividly remember waking up early, dribbling the ball around the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me time to get to the point where I woke up early to start painting, So I feel like when I get to that point where I've done more work in this field than the other, then I think hopefully it'll show. Hopefully I'll be where I need to be. We'll see.
Man, it's gonna get there, bro. So speaking of when it comes to music, if you could choose a theme song for the rest of your life, that represents, what would it be?
Themes. I can't. I want to answer the question in multiple ways because I go through like different things. I have no idea. I mean, I feel like Frank. Like it was like a Frank Ocean song that was like my shit for years. Like, but like I'm trying to be happier, so I can't say that's gonna be it for the rest of my life. I don't know. Any Kendrick song will probably rock. To be honest.
All right. Substance. Yeah.
Any Kendrick song I rock with, for sure.
Most definitely. So, you know, through all the hard work and where you're headed with your art, like in the end goal, like how do you want people to remember you? Like when they like this Michael Howell's art piece right here, like, and then the story gets told behind it, like you know how they do the legend stories and all that type of stuff. You feel me? Like how you want them, you know, to be remembered.
Like the experience that I've had thus far, and the way that people talk about me. People seem to like me, and it's very strange because I don't really get it personally.
Yeah.
But you know, deep down, I would hope that, you know, if I'm long gone, people looking at my work, you know, I guess I would hope that people just say that motherfucker was good. You know what I'm saying? Like that. More than anything, like I don't need to be, like I said, at the top of the whatever, right? Like if people see my shit, like that's amazing. That motherfucker was good. Like yo, let me tell you about when, like. I want people to want to tell stories. That's gonna matter more to me than anything else, right? Like I'm watching a Tupac doc right now, the Dear Mama thing. Like I want to hear that story.
Man,
I don't care what I've seen every doc, right? And so like when they were talking about it, I was like another one. Yeah. And then little by little, I found myself onto it. And the first episode was fine. I was like, that's what I want. Like, you know, I want my peers to be able to talk about me in just a positive way. Like,
yeah.
I mean, relativity is going to be key for sure because that's just kind of my base for right now. And I hope that helps me reach farther. I mean, that's all that I got, to be honest.
So, man. So, do you view your creative ability / process as unusual or unique?
My process? I mean, probably. I use my fingers a lot, believe it or not. Like, I thumb a lot of my shit together.
For real?
I swear to God. And so I think that part of it might be a little unique. And it got to the point where I realized that there are brushes that can do what my thumb is doing.
For real.
But it don't look the same. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like I still be sitting there like putting the paint down and smudging it and then going over it again. So I mean a little unusual, I'd say, but I mean it's really all about how, like, it's never really been about how it gets done. It's just really the finished product for me. So,
right.
Somewhat unique. Somewhat.
Most definitely. So, what has your experience been like being a part of these different art exhibitions showcasing your work?
Experiences, from an artist standpoint, it's one thing, I guess, and from like, right, because art is still a business. So like the business part of it teaches me another thing. Every time I have an event or a show or anything like that, right. Being in a room full of different art and artists, right, teaches you what people kind of flock to, and those, right. It doesn't really matter what yours looks like or anything, like how yours stacks up against everyone else's, and what people's eyes kind of dilate to teaches you what's receptive, right? Like if I dropped a person in the middle of like, you know, a car lot and had like a Lamborghini, Escalade, and all these different things, if the majority of people flock to the Lamborghini, then you're learning, okay, cool. Like I'm about to do something in that department a little bit, maybe not a lot, but something just to kind of pull them my way, right? I don't know. I might take the hood off that joint and put it over here on a Nissan, whatever I got to do to get people over here to this.
Yeah.
So the business side of me is always like hyper analytical of that. But as an artist, it's vulnerable, it's scary, you know, it's fun. And the feedback I get is always good. Like, you know, it'd be different, I guess, if people came to me and was like, this shit suck, you know. people come to me and they're like, yo, this is phenomenal. And I love having those one-on-one conversations. Those are always the best. So, I mean, that's the best way I can describe it personally.
Yeah, man, it'd be like it's something you bring in, the art be so good, people don't even have the words to even put it together.
That'd be the best. Like when that happens, or like I said, like I locked myself in the crib for a couple of years. So when people like look at me, you know, it was one art show I did early last year, I remember, and this woman ended up buying the piece, I remember.
Mm-hmm.
But the first thing she said to me was, I don't even want to know how much that shit is. Just let me see the print. I'm like, damn. Like,
That's real.
And she, like, that told me everything I needed to know. That gave me all the validation I needed. Like, I worked hard enough for this. I'm glad people feel that way. You know, I mean, it's just a testament to my work.
Dope. Like, and also when we speaking of memorable moments, like, what's some of your memorable moments you had, you know, thus far as you continue to flourish as an artist, like something that you'll always remember within your journey?
The first art show I had, I went through a lot through that art show. Like, it took a lot of processing, going through that breakup and like writing as much as I did through that process before I learned or knew I was going to be able to paint. You know, so I had this like stored kind of database of just information that was just there, right? Like a virtual diary, so to speak, right? And you know, combing through all those journal entries and piecing together the amount of work that I put together by myself, you know, like paying for the venue, like I did it, I fronted everything for that, you know what I'm saying? So to this day, nothing dwarfs that, like in terms of effort and work. It was like a 3-month process of just like every day, like just painting, coming home, like walking my dog for half a second, and then just painting until 3, 4 in the morning, going off like 4 hours of sleep, back to work, back to it again. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then even when I'm at work, still reading the notes, like it, you know, if you go through like a bad breakup, you're experiencing these things, these feelings, or whatever. And so every time I'm reading these journal entries, I'm back in that space, right? And I'm sad all over again because I'm trying to like pick it so I can make the painting or whatever the fuck I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
And so like that process, everything that went into that first art show, that I don't know if that'll ever be topped. And so I remember like having the show and selling a couple pieces and like crying. I remember crying afterwards, like alone, because I ain't no win, but you know, but I remember that, you know what I'm saying? So that probably to me, that was like the start of the journey for me. So I don't think I'll ever forget that, honestly. Like other things have happened that are great, like exhibitions and shows and events and sales, and a lot of great things have happened. But when I think about that very first moment where I felt like I knew I could do it, it was probably right after I finished that show. That was tough. Like it was hard to line everything up. It was hard to get the venue. The person that was running the venue was terrible. Like everything was supposed to be free, and all of a sudden it wasn't because they saw how many people showed up. Like, it was a whole thing. It was nuts. Like I paid for liquor. They were like, "Nah, we got." It was a whole thing. Like, it was a whole thing, and it worked out. But boy, you know, I'm gearing up to kind of to start doing, you know, my own show soon. And I thought about all that I went through with that. I was like, it ain't gonna be that bad, but boy, I remember that shit.
Nah, that's a good way though. Sometimes those experiences let you know, like on the flip side, if I was to get myself into this what I would do different, or you know, stuff like that.
Definitely. So I'm prepared. I know what to do now, of course.
Yeah, it's always that first time, though, man.
Yeah, that was somebody who like didn't know nothing about. I was like, what is going on? Like, God, people are crazy. What is this?
So on the flip, like, what's the best advice you would give to, you know, an upcoming artist that would take them a long way?
Just stay curious and stay hungry. You know, those two things matter. You know, like hunger is one thing, but it won't matter if you're like not curious enough to do the research to figure different things out, like to explore different avenues. You know, I remember like watching this clip of like Tyler the Creator talk about how he gets up every day and he chooses a new artist to listen to, like from the past or something like that, and like dives through their catalog for the day or whatever, right? Like there's curiosity and hunger in that. So if you're coming up as an artist and you want to know more about like the past or like just different art techniques and styles and stuff like that, just research a random artist, like dig through their catalog for the day or 2 days, 3 days, paint what they painted, practice that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's a mixture of, like I said, just kind of staying consistent, being hungry, but also there's got to be a healthy amount of curiosity to be great at anything. You know? You watch I was a huge Kobe fan. Like Kobe, everything I read about Kobe was I was asking questions. You know what I'm saying?
Mamba, man.
I was I was devastated when he died. I remember and everything I read about him and all the interviews I've seen.
Yeah,
he was asking questions. Like he talked. I remember like Gary Payton was like, "Yo, Kobe would stop asking me questions." Michael Jordan, Kobe would stop asking me questions. Like if you hungry and you curious, you're gonna make it far, man. Like this is how it works.
Yeah, I feel like Kobe used to also like he asking them questions because he already preparing himself for this, when he go
Yeah,
against him.
definitely.
Yeah. So, what do you manifest for yourself and your brand, as an artist before 2023 is out? Leading into next year, like what's some things you manifest for yourself?
I want this show. I want to either have like a designated date for this show. Um, it's a mix between that and really just getting the pieces done before then, before the year's up. I am somebody who takes time to make like their work. It takes me time. And so I am hoping that by the end of this year, all my pieces are done and I can just put them to the side and say, okay, now I can just knock out the venue for the start of next year and we can just be good. More than that, though, I would say, I mean, just success in whatever way that looks like. Painting is one thing, but if people don't receive them well, it shit won't matter, I guess. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, success, man. I hope people like my stuff. I hope, like I said, everything's relative, so I hope people can relate to it. Hope people spend, buy my stuff, and more than anything, just the one-on-one thing, one-on-one time. So if I have my show, I hope people show up. I hope I get to talk to the people, and chips fall where they may.
Nah, bro, it's definitely gonna happen, man. You got some, like I said, you got some dope art, man. A lot of stuff, is relatable, and like I said, it's quality. It's definitely like a lot of how can I say, it's like realism when you look at it. Like it's very detailed. It's not like one of them RPs where you just looking like, all right, I'm on to the next one. Like, no, I'm actually dissecting everything, like what's going on, what I'm seeing.
I appreciate it, man. And listen, that's all I can hope for. Like I put the effort there, so hopefully that happens.
Yeah, nah, for sure. So, any shout outs or recognition you would like to give to those who've been in your corner, supporting you along the way in your journey?
My girl, definitely. Miss Lorraine Wheeler, definitely. My mom, of course, Lisa Howell. My aunt. My aunt is like one of the main reasons I started to like really pay attention to art too. Like she was like a little art connoisseur kind of. She was a collector like back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
She, I remember her showing me the galleries on 145th Street. I didn't even know they were there. Like, up until that point, I just thought it was nothing but like just liquor stores and corner stores and shit. And she was like, "There's an art gallery over here." I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
what?" So definitely my aunt Lynette Floyd. My man, my best friend Michigan. He's like the one dude I call. Like he might be the one person I can call when I need a little bit of motivation. Like he's the dude that gives me that pep talk right before the show or something like that. So yeah, I mean, I can't think of nobody else. But I mean, maybe I'll write a book later or something. Let's see.
Hey man, for real, nah, that's what's up, man. Just any little amount of encouragement and motivation that people can give you goes a long way. Like, I don't expect you to call me every day or whatever, or something like that. Like, nah, man, we got a lot going on, but just to check in or see what's going on or inspire me some type of way. Like, we all.
Liz called me right before that first show. I'm like, yeah. He called me. I'm like, what's going on? He's like, yo, man, go out there and do it.
Yeah,
I'm like, all right, bro. Like,
for real.
No, I don't want none of that timid artist shit. Go out there and do it. I'm like, all right, bro.
Tell it for real. Give it straight up. Yeah, man. But now, man, got to get your flowers.
I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, pop out like the Grammys, man. Had to get you this $1 million store. I be feeling like Gilly on the platform, man. They say $1 million worth of game, but I'm getting the Underdawg stores, man, over here. But
I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you for having me.
Most definitely keep going up, bro. Just look forward to seeing more, pieces and more, creations come from you, man. Like I say, you got my first impression was when I seen the stash. And then I seen the breakup one too. I'm like, yeah, this dope, man. Like, especially me being an artist, like that Nike box, anything hip hop related is gonna attract me anyways. Like,
I got you. I appreciate you. I got a print coming your way, man.
For sure, man. But yeah, man, just keep going up, bro. But the last question, that we ask everybody before we get them off is last but not least, what does being an underdog mean to you, or will you hear the word underdog?
The grind, man. That's all it talks to for me. Like I said, I grew up a hooper, so you was an underdog. You just had to get it. You had to get it out the mud. You had to get it the hard way. So I'm not scared to work. That's something that I identify with. When you reached out and I saw that was the name of the pod, I was like, well, I'm rolling. Let's get this going, man.
Most definitely, man. There y'all have it, man. Y'all already know, man. Michael Howell Art. Make sure y'all follow him on Instagram, man. You feel me? At Michael_Howell Art. And then also MichaelHowell-art.com. Make sure you check out his pieces, his artwork. And do you do commissions as well too?
Do commissions as well.
Commissions as well too. So make sure you hit the contact button on the website. But yeah, this was the Underdawg Chronicles, you feel me? Relativity, featuring Harlem, New York's on by way of Atlanta, Michael Howell. Appreciate you, brother, sitting down with me, man.
My man, appreciate you.
Most definitely, man. Keep going up, bro.
Gold mouth, rabbit on my teeth, I got carrots. Open up her mouth and she got vocals sound like Janet. Marble on the floors, but the kitchen kinda granite. Lean color perk, you would think it's pomegranate. I see flying saucers finna roll another planet. It will fall in place if it's meant to be organic. I got crazy lingo, you would think I'm speaking Spanish. I'm something like a pie, never leave without the cannon. I'm enlightened. I got stones around my neck. If you pay attention, I teach her how to earn respect. I walk around with a tag like I'm mad at the rail. People do any damn thing for a check. So what if you got signed labels, throw them on the shelf? I don't ask for help, I just go within myself. Hard times I prevail, I bust up out my shell. I let my nuts hang, cause it don't got no curfew. Gold mouth, rabbit on my teeth, I got carrots. Open up a mouth and she got vocals sound like Janet. Marble on the floors, but the kitchen kinda